Last year I made a skate ornament that I really liked, but I wanted to perfect it a little bit this year. So I changed the pattern, and this is my pattern. It's a mirror image of a skate shape that I drew using a photograph of a figure skate. So I'm tracing the shape onto my Kona cotton, as I always do, and then I'm going to sew around that right on the line on my sewing machine. Now I wanted the skate to have two sides because I want to put the decorations inside the skate. So I'm cutting around the edge here, and then I have to cut a little opening so that I can turn my skate inside out. Now, a friend of mine had a vintage skate ornament that I just loved so much, and I have always wanted to make some kind of an ornament that resembled that. So this is my attempt, and this is the maiden voyage here. It's the first one I'm ever making. So I cut the slit, and I'm going to turn my shape inside out using my skewer, and of course you have to push out all of the corners. Just make sure it's inverted properly, and I'm actually going to iron this as well because I'm going to be folding it. I'm going to stuff it first, but then I'm going to fold it in half, and I really want the seams to be open, so that's why I'm going to iron that. And I do wet it a little bit with my fingers before ironing, just so that it irons flat really well. So here it is, ironed. And now I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing into it, and I just use the scissors to do that. And I don't want it stuffed firmly, I just want it to be a little puffy. So I don't want too much stuffing in there, but I do want to have enough so that it's got a little bit of a body to it, so it's not flat. So this looks pretty good, and then you don't really even have to sew up the opening because it's going to be on the inside of the shape. And I'm going to put decorations in there, and I'm going to glue them in. So that's pretty much going to take care of the slit. So here's my little skate. And I'm going to need the blade for the skate. And I also used a photograph to get the shape for the blade. And what I'm using that's going to fit right in there like that, and I'm going to sew that bottom edge of the skate. So what I'm using for the blade is something called Craftex, and I do love that product for certain things like this. It's kind of a cross between paper and fabric. You can cut it and it doesn't fray, and it's more durable than paper, and it's hard to explain exactly what it is, but you can see the properties of it as I'm working with it. So I can cut out my shape, and I'm going to have to paint that too later. So this is going to fit right in there like that. And so I'm going to sew on the blade onto one side of the skate. I think it'll just make it easier. So here it is sewn on. And then I'm going to fold that over, and I'm going to sew the bottom edge. And there it is all sewn. And I'm going to have to paint all of this. So I'm going to paint the blade silver, and I'm going to paint the heel black, and the skate itself I'm going to use my beautiful fabric paints that are iridescent, that have a little gold kind of a sheen to it. So I have to paint that and let it dry. What I like about this design is, first of all, the skate I made last year. I made an ornament last year, but I kind of did it really close to Christmas time, and I didn't have time to work the kinks out of the design. So it didn't actually have an inside to the skate, if you know what I mean. This is like a real skate in that it has an inside. You can open it up and put decorations in it, which is what I'm going to do. So that's what I like about this design, and I knew that I wanted to try making a skate like that. So it also made it very easy to attach the blade. When I just did a single skate, I had to leave the bottom open and then find a way to stick the blade in and then sew around it. This way, I just sandwiched the blade in between the front and the back of the skate. It just made it a lot easier. Now, I do want to have two skates, but I'm just going to make one right now and see how I like it. So I'm painting the heel, and as I'm doing this, I'm thinking that I'm going to try a different version, and I will show this. And I think I'm going to try cutting the heel for the skate out of the craft text, because I think it might actually have a little bit of a neater look to it. So here I'm adjusting my pattern a little bit to accommodate that revision. So I'm adding on the heel, and I'm going to cut that out from the craft text as well, just to see how that will look, and I'm going to decide afterwards which version I like the best, which one looks the best, and which one is easier to make. So there's my pattern. This is how I make it. I've shown this on other videos, and I'm cutting it out. And when I did finish my skate, I did end up thinking that I wanted to make the skate blade thinner. So I am going to, on my future skates, I'm going to make the skate blade itself thinner. So I also need to omit the heel from this pattern, and I'm just going to fold it under, actually, because I already have the heel on the blade part. So here's my craft text, and I'm going to trace this shape on there and cut it out, and then of course I'll have to paint that. This is how I work out every ornament. I make a prototype, and I always tell everybody that my prototype takes me about 8 hours to make. And then once I work out all the kinks in it, which is what I'm showing you here, I'm working out the kinks in my prototype. Once I work all of that out, the next 20 that I make take the same amount of time as the one prototype took. So now this is the pattern, and I'm just folding up the heel because, as you know, I don't need that because it's on the skate blade. And you go through the same process of making that skate as I did with the other one that had the heel, and there it is, it's all ready and stuffed, and I'm just painting the blade before sewing it on. Of course, you have to let it dry before you sew it on, so I'm painting the skate blade and also the heel, and I am going to put some glitter on that as well onto the skate. So all of this I work out in that prototype. I really try to take, here it is sewn onto there, and I think I like this better actually. I like how tidy the heel looks compared to the other one that's puffy. And actually it was easier to sew the bottom of the skate also. So I do think I like that version better. And that's great because it's a little easier to manage. And here's some of the decorations I'm thinking about using. I have the for real yarn, which is that furry yarn. It's going to go around the top of the skate. And then I want to do the lacing of the skate somehow so that it sort of looks like a real skate. And this is this needlepoint thread that I love called Krynic. That's the company. And I just love it so much. So I'm just going to try it out and see what happens here. I'm sort of trying to lace it up like a real skate, but because I'm only using, I don't have two ends of the string, I'm sort of trying to wing it and figure out how to do it so that it will look like a real laced skate. And I kind of missed the mark on it, I have to say, once it was finished. So I'm going to have to refigure how I'm going to do the lacing on the skate. Of course, no one probably would care anyways. It does look like it's laced, but it just doesn't really look as perfect as I want it to. So I'm going to have to rework that on the actual skates that will be the ornaments that I have for sale. So I'm going to just tie a knot at the top. I was thinking of making it a bow, but I'm going to have a bow at the top of the skate, which would be what you hang it from. So I'm not going to do a bow there. And this is the really fun part, the decorating. So I'm putting the fabric tack glue, which is the only glue that I would recommend when gluing something to fabric. And unless, if you're not using a glue gun, I should say. And I'm going to use this for real, which is this furry yarn that makes a really nice top. And there it is with that on there. And this is wire that's super, super thin. It's covered wire. This wire that I paint gold and then I put glitter on it. And I use it for a lot of different things. And so I'm going to tie a little bow, and that will be what the skate is going to be hanging from. And then I'm going to cut that extra longer piece that I don't need off. And this is going to look so cute. So this is wire, and it's nice and sturdy, and that's going to go right there in the skate. And I'm going to glitter up the blade, and I just chose one of my super fancy glitters that I get at Art Glitter. That's the only glitter I would recommend. And of course you have to let that totally dry before doing anything else. And I think that looks super adorable. So this is going to go into the skate, and I put my decorations in there just to see how they would look. And now I'm going to glue everything in there. So I use the glue gun. I only use Gorilla Glue sticks. So these are going to be permanent now in there. And as you can see, you don't have to worry about the slit that's we used to invert the shape that I cut. I didn't sew that up. It's on the inside and it won't show. And now I'm gluing these stamens in. They just look so cute. And I glued in my little bow string that will be what the skate hangs from. So I was pretty happy with the way this turned out. I would trim the skate blade to make it thinner. That's probably the last adjustment I would make, but besides that, I just love it. What do you think? Good luck on yours.